I can feel your anger. It gives you focus, makes you stronger.
Topic number 2. Now, this is a very interesting topic. Now, this topic might be a little, I don't know, might be a kind of a controversial topic. Whenever we talk about Disney adults, it spurs a lot of passion. Okay. Now, I want to make it very clear. I'm a Disney adult. Okay. I dedicated a whole YouTube channel to it. All of us here are Disney adults. So I want to preface that. But I want to kind of get into this topic of like, is Disney only for kids? Because there are people out there that will tell you that, hey, you know what? Unless you have kids or you are a kid, you really have no place going to Disney. I mean, that's kind of weird, right? It's kind of weird. You're weird, man. Why are you going to Disney when you're an adult? You don't have any kids, right? There's a narrative out there, very much so, about that. Now, I completely disagree with it. But before I dive into my opinions, I want to talk to Dre first about this. Disney adults, where are you at with this in terms of like, is it weird? What's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, just because something has been marketed heavily towards children doesn't mean it's just for children, right? I think that's kind of the distinction there. I think a lot of the association that comes with, oh, it's just for kids has been, you know, some kind of the advertising, so to speak, right? It's been kind of the you know, kind of the popular sentiments surrounding the parks, I think, in kind of the mainstream.
Right.
But that doesn't mean it's necessarily for, like, exclusively for just kids. I mean, you know, Walt was what? He was in his what do you want to say, his 50s when he developed Disneyland and stuff like that, and a lot of those Imagineers you know, worked not just to, you know, just to yeah, I don't know, you know, do stuff for the kiddos, but a lot of it was because they themselves wanted to see a lot of that stuff, right? They themselves wanted to experience a place like this, or like, you know, Disneyland or any of the, you know, various Disney theme parks around the world. You know, they kind of they didn't talk down to children, right? They didn't just direct all their efforts towards children. Now, obviously, a lot of like Fantasyland stuff like that, you know, maybe took, you know, kids a little bit more into account, but overall, I mean, it was, you know, to all who come to this happy place, welcome, kind of thing. And I think I you know, myself, I don't, I mean, maybe you can say, you know, some aspects, you know, maybe that's a little, right, you know, weird, but overall, I mean, if you like theme design, if you like architecture, if you like kind of this kind of you know, environmental storytelling, you know, utilizing the physical real world, I think anybody can appreciate that, whether you're young or old.
No, I 100% agree. I mean, look what Walt Disney was trying to do here. Like, even with Epcot, you know, trying to build a city of tomorrow, utilizing all new technology. This is stuff that can capture the imagination of any age. Right. You know, I've always been really fascinated with like space travel and new technologies and things like that. I don't think any of those topics are for kids. I mean, they can be. I mean, cool. Kids are into it, cool. But it's also for adults. And that's all weaved into Disney, right? Like all that, like you said, Dre, architecture, theme design, you know, storytelling, right? This can all be very adult subject material. And to kind of like just kind of like put like kind of like dismiss it as, oh, just for kids is really kind of in my opinion closed-minded. And I've even dealt with this like in past jobs, right? People will kind of like almost like in a condescending way, like, why do you always go to Disneyland? It's for kids, right? And I've always noticed these are the same people that watch sports. Well, believe me, sports is not exactly 100% like, you know, mature entertainment. I see people in the stands with face paint, their shirts off, you know, painted nipples, all kinds of stuff, right? So that's the adult thing to do. Yeah, that's the adult thing to do. But, you know, don't wear Mickey ears, though. Then you're a freaking, you know, weirdo, man. You know,
weird.
You know, it just doesn't make any sense to me. In my opinion, I think that let people be people. They like what they like. And here's the other thing. And my Disney adults might not want to hear this. I am a Disney adult. I love this stuff. Okay. But let's be honest. Sometimes the way that fans go about it is fucking weird. I mean, sometimes there are people that are into it in a weird way. And that goes for any fandom. That goes for any fandom. But sometimes it is weird. It is weird. And look, that doesn't mean that everyone who likes Disney or Walt Disney's legacy or the parks is weird. Not at all. But there are certain fans that do take it to a weird level. And that's going to go for any fandom. So we just have to acknowledge that. But what do you think, George? Is Disney just for kids? Is it something that's kind of for everybody? Where do you kind of stand on that?
Well, I think it was the initial conception of Walt himself, sitting at, Griffith Park with his two daughters, them riding the carousel, him sitting there, eating peanuts or popcorn or what have you. And, he wanted something where, adults can join in on the fun. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to have kids in order for an adult to have fun, because Disney was always big with the tagline and the slogans, the young and the young at heart, so they would be going back on, everything that they believed in if that was the case. So I truly believe that, however old you are, whether you're 9 or 99, if you have a passion, and I think that's where the Disney community is so strong. And this is where I feel that Disney is somewhat invincible, because it has such an upbringing on people, from an infant to a toddler to a young child to an adult to an elderly person. It's like you can find those special moments and memories that, it's like a legacy that continues. And I think that's where Disney stands alone than the rest. And, people can argue to say, well, if you don't have kids, then, why are you, here? And I've had that many times. And my main response is the same thing. It's like, here, pick a finger. So it's like,
Well,
I mean,
yeah. And these parks, look, you go to Epcot, right? And you can experience a taste from various countries from around the world.
Exactly. It's like when people think of Disney, they just associate to cartoons and the characters, which even if an adult wants to meet the characters, that's perfectly fine. But as you had mentioned, OG, you have Epcot with the futuristic of technology and the World Showcase with all the countries and the cultures. And then you have Animal Kingdom, all about live wildlife preserve. And you have thrill rides, sometimes, young kids are scared of that stuff, but, teenagers into young adults, they love that stuff.
Right.
But I do understand where parents of, families may get frustrated with people who are adults and don't have kids or don't bring their families. Because I think what it eventually turned into for not all adults, but where they kind of use Disney as a media platform. And I'm not saying this as disregard to any vlogger, any blogger, any YouTube, I'm just telling it as it is, as a fact, where, you have these people that are constantly there to make videos, do vlogs. And, a lot of people don't really like to deal with that in their vacation. But that also sets up the argument that, it is a place for everybody, to one's own taste, so I could see where that argument would come. But at the end of the day, we all love what we love. We all do what we do for a reason. And that's the bottom line. Here's
one thing that I think all of us have to consider, especially in this space, right? In that, if you're going to have, like, let's say you have a YouTube channel and you talk about aliens or you talk about the afterlife, there's going to be a percentage of people that go into watching your videos wanting to tear it down. They just are. They're going to want to go in there and go, oh man, look at this guy talking about aliens, tinfoil hat, weirdo, right? There's a certain percentage of people that will go into your video.
It was one Friday night. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But there are certain people that are going to want to go into your video to tear it down just based on the subject material. And Disney is kind of one of those things. If you're going to be up here, like what we do here, and let's say you're going to make a video, say, defending Galaxy's Edge, right? And you got a bunch of Star Wars shit behind you and you're wearing a Star Wars shirt and you're wearing the Mickey ears, you just have to understand, fandom, that you're going to probably get a lot of comments saying, hey, you're a shill, da, 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 da. It comes with the territory. Now, look, it helps sometimes to maybe, if you're going to do videos like that, to not have all the stuff behind you and wearing the Disney shirt with the mouse ears. It might help to kind of bring some of those people on board and take you a little more seriously. That's fine. If you want that, do that. If you don't care what other people think, then have whatever you want. But we just have to acknowledge, though, that that is a thing. You know, I mean, look, they're going into your video, a lot of people, and they're wanting to tear you down, and they're going to use everything that in your video, including the stuff behind you, as ammo against you. So just understand that. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead, Ray. I'm sorry. I think you wanted to chime in.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, and you know, one of the things that kind of precipitated this whole conversation, and maybe speaks to why we bring up the vlogger specifically, is because there was an incident where a certain vlogger was trying to take part in like this kind of magic photo opportunity at Epcot, and was denied because they were an adult. And it was like, wow, that's quite interesting. You know, they said that they were limiting the experience just for kids. And it was like, wow, that's, you know, you don't often see that at any of Disney's theme parks. So it's, you know, as this fandom matures, as this kind of themed entertainment enterprise matures, you know, maybe we see more of that depending on the experience and things. We already see that with some activities, right? I think, like, for example, like Toontown, right? The ball pit that was available, you know, early in its life cycle, right? I think there was like maybe a height restriction, you know, where, you know, you couldn't be of a certain height or beyond, and you know, maybe that area wasn't for adults and stuff like that. Maybe we do see, you know, more of that as time goes on. I don't know. We'll see about that, but it's just quite an interesting kind of dynamic and how all that works. You know, it's interesting. Themed entertainment, you know, yeah, a lot of people say it is just for kids, and but Tony Baxter, back when he was going to, you know, California State University in Long Beach, didn't quite think of it that way. He thought of it as, you know, this kind of penultimate art form, so to speak. Yeah. And I remember that him having a discussion, I believe it was with his theater professor, who was like, you know, hey, you know, I need a project back from you that's theater driven. It's like, well, hey, Disneyland's theater driven. I think Disneyland's the ultimate theater experience. And she's like, what are we talking about? It's not the, what? I mean, it's a theme park. That's not themed. That's not like a, you know, theater. And he's like, no, yeah, it is. I'll show you. Took her down to Disneyland for the first time, and she was an instant. She got it. She understood it. Like, wow, this is you know, a live, you know, theater type exposition. And so she was a convert to loving Disneyland, and, you know, they were friends ever since, you know, from that. But I think if you appreciate theme design, and like you said, I mean, people are into all kinds of fandoms and passions. You know, this just happens to be one of them. But it has a broad, you know, favorability among the populace, no matter who you are. So.
No, 100%. And it kind of gets that's the thing. Theme parks kind of get disrespected like animation does with the Oscars, you know? Yeah. It's always seen as like, oh, you know, it's always like kind of poo-pooed, and it frustrates me because, like you said, Dre, perfectly, like with Tony Baxter and everything, this is art. You know, this is art. This is theater. This is architecture, all rolled into one. It's really, really cool. And to kind of like just kind of narrow it down into just like kiddie stuff, like it's some sort of Chuck E. Cheese kind of experience, it's just not true. It's just not. This stuff can be really, really cool for adults. And really, Disney, when you go to a Disney park, it's a different experience depending on who you go with. Like if we go, like the three of us, it's a different kind of experience than if you're going to go with your child, right? Yeah. And that's the beauty of it. You know, it's something that kind of morphs with the people, kind of morphs depending on the people you're with. You know, and it's pretty amazing stuff, man. And I do think it's not respected enough in this world. And I think a lot of these people that kind of poo-poo it are just, I'll be real, I'll be straight up, they're just closed-minded. I see a lot of people out there like, what's that guy? Cernovich, you know, he's big on this. He talks shit. He talks a lot of shit.
Yeah, he does talk about this a lot.
Oh, about
But then,
people that are adults that go to Disney and don't have kids. It's like, loosen
but
up,
then
man.
there's the
Like, you can't have
people. Then
fun.
there's the people who say that and they never stepped foot in a Disney park.
Right.
Well,
Right.
it's like, well, what relevance do you really have of it if you never experienced it yourself?
Exactly.
But I do have to say, I watched a YouTube video more recently, paging Mr. Morrow. So shout out to Nate, huge fan of you if you're watching. That he actually got to go over to Disneyland for the Main Street Electrical Parade, World of Color, reopening, and like just watching him because he was so excited because he never got to experience Mission Breakout, the Incredicoaster, and it was like just watching him. It was like so thrilling because he was getting all his emotions up in once, and he said, "All this stuff has been here, and you watch YouTube 1,000 times," and he said, it may be old school for everyone else, but this is all new for me. And he was just loving Disneyland. And to kind of cap it off, as far as when he was watching Disneyland Forever, you can like listen to the crowd singing all the songs.
Yep.
And majority of it was all adults.
Mm.
Well, and George, you bring up a great point, even in regards to songs, right? A lot of people, a lot of normies will kind of blow off. It's a Small World. Oh, it's kids fair. That's for kids. Not really. I mean, world peace, a message of global unity is something that I think everyone can kind of embrace, right? I mean, that's not like necessarily a kid thing. I mean, that's something that we all kind of as a global community kind of strive for. It's a global message. It's not just for kids, but a lot of people just kind of poo-poo it. Just for kids. Come on now.
Yeah. Richard Sherman talks about how he, they were kind of writing that song on kind of the precipice of the Cold War. So it was like, he kind of thinks of it like, hey, it's just a message about just let's not blow everybody up here kind of thing, which is kind of a fascinating thing. That's definitely not kids material, right? But it speaks to the kind of innate kids in all of us, and I always thought that was a kind of a fascinating thing that people kind of poo-poo this song, but it's like, I understand the context though. I mean, it was getting a little dicey there. This is why those kind of songs would come out of this time period.